Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to GarageBand Weekly for another week. Your weekly dose of all things GarageBand, the news, the views, the shoes. I don't know where I was going with that. I hope you're doing well. My name is Pete. This is Studio Live today. My goal here on this channel is to help you create, record, and release your best music. We do that through tips, tricks, tutorials, and weekly live shows just like this one. If that's your bag, consider subscribing. And if you get some value out of this one today, you know what to do. Thumb love for the win. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We've got GarageBand Mac update. We've got GarageBand iOS new sound pack. We're going to get an app of the week, something brand new from Kevinhart. It's a whole week of news. So settle in, grab yourself a beverage of choice, and we'll get on with the show, shall we? G'day to the folks who are here live. We've got Stu, Russ, Sion, Tom, Guzzo, Mark, Benedict, Stewart. Welcome to everyone. Gary Hubbs is in the house. If you are here and you have questions, we will have a little Q&A section a little later in the show. So if you got questions, I was going to say we've got answers. I'll try. I'll do my very best. But the beautiful part is that we've got the whole Studio Live Today community here. So if I don't know the answer, someone else well may know it. So let's jump into the news and notes, because we got some news, some pretty big news over the last couple of weeks. So I thought I would cover off on this, the big updates that we have to both GarageBand on the Mac and GarageBand on the iPad and iPhone. So let's start with the Mac, because I have a Mac now and I can actually talk about it. So GarageBand on Mac, we've got the new version here. Now on the surface, it's only bug fixes, but as Patrick pointed out in his video, which I will link down in the description, so that's Patrick from the GarageBand Guide, of course, we've got four major bug fixes there. So the things that were causing some folks issues were: we had plugins that couldn't be opened in Control View using Voiceover. So your third-party plugins, if you're using Voiceover, which is the accessibility feature for vision-impaired folks, it wasn't able to be opened in Control View, which meant you just had some random buttons and you didn't know what you were changing. You can now open that in Control View. That's a good thing. Regions in the editor window now show mute or solo state. So there was a bug where they weren't, when you're in the region editor over here, they weren't actually showing your mutes and your solos. That's been fixed. That's a good thing. Apparently there was some weird and wacky problems with 808s. So the 808 sounds had some bizarre sort of things going on, and some of your bass sounds, that's all been fixed. And also there was a time quantise in the region view that is now fixed. So you know what? I know bug fixes aren't the most exciting thing in the world. They're really not. But it is a good thing that they're at least identifying and then releasing new versions and new patches just to actually fix some of the bugs that we've got here. If they could try to avoid the bugs, obviously, what is it? In risk management, prevention is number one. But you know what? If you can't prevent things, at least you can hopefully... Oh, I've just lost my iPad. My iPad screen was up here and I went to use it and then it's gone away. So while I get my iPad screen back, hopefully, we're going to have to do a bit of resetting on the fly here. Well, let's talk about the GarageBand update, because we had a big GarageBand iOS update. So if you're on iOS 14 or above, so yes, you do need to be on the latest version of iOS. And I apologize if you're on 13 or 12, you're not going to get these new sound packs, because you need GarageBand 2.3.10 and you need to be on the latest version, which is version 14.3 or anything 14 or above, really. But if you're updating to iOS 14, update to iOS 14.3. It's a lot more stable. I've now got it on my phone, so I was a long time holdout, but it just got too inconvenient having to switch between my iPad and iPhone and have one on 13.7, one on 14.3. So now I'm on 14.3 for everything, and it's all working for me. Again, your mileage may vary, as we always say, but for me, everything's working. So I never recommend it, but I can only tell you what I've experienced, and that is that it's working. It's fine and dandy. All right. Looks like my iPad is playing ball here now. So let's jump into GarageBand and show you what we got that is new. Yes, I'm using AirPlay, and I'll continue to use AirPlay because it's I think I've got some problems with my audio setup here, and I don't want it to crap out mid-show. So what have we got? Well, we've got brand new sound pack. So if you go to your sound library here, and it does look like, well, I didn't mean to go straight in. It does look like for a while there, even after you'd updated and downloaded the new sound pack, you still had a little one there. I think Apple's like notifications and their actual downloads have kind of gotten a bit out of sync, because this happened on the last update. It said we had an update, we didn't have one, And then a day later we did. This time around, seems that people didn't even know that they had an update, but they went and downloaded it and it said you still got an update there. So it seems to have been resolved, at least on my iPad here. But here's what we're looking at, the electronic drummers. This is the sort of action we're getting here. Right. Yeah. So this is going to make a lot of people very, very happy because a lot of the more popular sorts of music at the moment are especially your sort of synthwave, 80s retro pop rock kind of vibes. And there's one particular drummer in here that I'm really digging. So why don't we come on in? Come on in, the water's fine. Let's go to our drummers. If we go to more drummers, you can see we've got Anton. He's a modern hip hop drummer. And if we come on down, we've also got these two new alternative drummers, Maya and Duncan, and then we've got Ronnie and Julian. I don't know, I just love the name Julian. It's just such a... Anyway. But we're not going to use them. Let's go with the modern 80s. So let's go with Maya, because she's the one that I think is going to make a lot of people happy with the sort of sounds that she's got, because the preset names alone, Boombox, Dot Matrix, Hot Pink, Hoverboard, Laserdisc, Maximum Headroom, Player One, and Request Line. So yeah, it's like the 80s exploded in my face, right? So if we come in here, we throw Boombox on here, we get a bit of a beat like this. Oh, that's right, it's playing along with my song. So probably not exactly the right sort of beat for the song there, but we've got a heap of other options in here. And like all of our other drummers, we can change all of these up so you can make it less or more complex and use all the presets here. And all the presets do is change up all this stuff, yeah? So you've got manual control over this and any of your drummers. You can change any of the different patterns that you use. You can use your follow, as always. Oh, I wonder if we can... If we follow the track. That's interesting. I've never followed an entire song before with a drummer. That's really cool. So if we do that, I'm going to turn it back on now. I'm going to unmute that. Oh, I've already still got it unmuted, so that's kind of cool, yeah? Not the worst sound ever. There you go. That's an interesting technique. I'm going to have to try that out, where you just, because, yeah, you normally follow an instrument, but if you follow the entire original track with your drummer, it's probably going to do better, isn't it? So yeah, you've got different ones in here, and there are different drummers. So again, to change your drummer, you tap in the middle there. We grab and say we want to go with, come on, got to give Jules. Have a run, Jules. Time to shine, son. Anyway, there's a lot going on there, and like most of our, so there's not only the new drummers, there are new drums as well. So if we come out here and we go to our just plain straight up drums, we've got the new kits in here. If we go more sounds, and the easiest way is to go to recently downloaded. That way you can just come in and go to the specific kit pack that you want. So electronic drummers, and then let's come in here and play around with the after party. Oh yeah. Yeah, oh, I feel like going to an after party, don't you? Get some claps in there. What about a little hat? It's really hard to play. The delay with AirPlay, it's really hard to play along with because it's about a quarter of a second. But anyway. You can play along with all the beats to your heart's content. And the final thing we have in the new update is drummer loops, loopy loops. So if we come in here to our loops and we go to, oh, hang on, loops are not available for, I'm in 6.8, aren't I? All right, I won't show that here. I've got another video where I show this, but just trust me that you can use Julian, you can use Anton, you can use Maya, you can use the whole gang. They show up here in your Apple loops if you're in 4/4 time. If you're in 6/8 time, you are SOL, which as we know means sort of out of luck. So a bit of a longer news segment here today because there was a lot to go through, and when we have a new pack, we want to cover it. So how do you get the new pack? Well, you just go to the App Store, and not the App Store, you go in and download the pack. Did I show that? I think I did. Yeah, so if you come into your GarageBand sound library, all you need to do is go in here, jump into sound library, tap on that one. It'll be right up here up the top. It'll have a red little new thing on there. You tap on that, and then where it's got downloaded, you'll have get. You download it, and you are good to go. New sounds. Hey, I'm always going to be happy when we get us some new sounds. Righty dokie, let's skip on because that's all the news and notes we have for this week and talk about our feature topic. We'll say a quick good day to the folks. So SM Borthwick's dropped on in here. Hello to you. We've got Tool Matt in the house. Melissa Perkins, hello to you. Gino Therese, and I think I've said hello to everyone else. Scott is in the house as well. So if you do have questions, folks, please do leave those. And yeah, as Tom says, all the new drummers and sounds come from Mac, GarageBand, and Logic, I think. Yeah, so because I haven't used GarageBand on Mac for long enough, I wasn't sure about that, but a couple of folks have said that. So that may indeed well be the case. All right, let's continue on here and get started. So feature topic. Automation in GarageBand. Automation is kind of the secret sauce of mixing in GarageBand or mixing in any kind of platform, really. It's kind of underappreciated and underlooked when folks are actually recording, but it is a great way to actually get a little bit of life into your tracks. And I'm going to go through a couple of simple options here for automation just to explain how to use it in as quick a time as possible. So let's go and grab a different song, one that's actually got some multiple tracks here. So if we come into my complete songs, should have organized this in advance. Where am I? I'm in the wrong folder. iCloud Drive, GarageBand for iOS. Let's go into my completed, and let's grab this Imagination version 2. All right, so we'll load this one up, and I'm using AirPlay. I understand. Okay, so here's our tracks, and automation simply allows you to adjust. Now, in iOS, we can adjust the volume only, but we can use some other things to adjust panning and a few other effects as well. Won't go into all the detail of that here today, but let's say we've got this lead vocal of this track, so we'll solo this, and we've got this lead vocal. Vocals are a great candidate for automation. If we play... Back to the days when I was a little kid, always worry about the things I never did, always thinking about the next big problem, even when it's someone else that's on the hook me in, line and sinker. So if I'm listening to this, and even just looking at that waveform, you can kind of tell that in some parts here, I come in a little bit loud, yeah? So what automation can do is if we tap right here on our icon, and we tap on automation, we get this, right? We get these lanes in the top left, we turn that on, and then if we've got a bit here that we want to turn down, we tap in automation points, and each one of these points is like what's automation? It's like a little robot that goes in and controls things. So if we want to control our volume, so if we want to say make this section come, I've tapped in there, undo is your friend, undo. All right, turn off your points in the top left. If we wanted to make this section come up, you can do that. And then as it gets to that part, the volume's going to go up. But what we actually want to do is make this part come down in volume. So we drop it down like that. Then we can just adjust our points so that when it gets to this loud point here, it's going to be lower. And there we go, like that. So these little parts here, it'll just lower that volume. And just to give you a real example, I'm going to lower it a heap. You wouldn't lower it this much, but just to show you how simple it is. So here's our vocal pass. Problem, even when it's someone else that's on the hook me in, line and sinker. Ever wonder what it's like to be an overthinker, tinker with... So in those parts where I start sort of yelling and being louder, we can actually bring the volume down. Now, here in GarageBand iOS, we only have volume. And this is one of the biggest downsides, I guess, of GarageBand iOS. You can do things like creating a second track to automate just the effects on that track, or to automate panning by creating a second track, putting one left, one right, and then moving the automation curve up and down. That will actually automate that, but there's really only one way to do that. Unlike our friends over here in GarageBand Mac land, where we have a whole bunch of automation options in here. So the same sort of thing here. If I grab my vocal sound this time and we solo that, let's just hope that the audio is working. I had a few glitches before the show. Darkness. There you go. It's good. Only feeling the pain. So this time we can actually add automation in here. Now we just hit the A key and we get a very similar looking layout here. But here's the difference, right? Under the automation, what we're actually automating, we got volume, pan, echo, reverb. Then we can automate any of the smart controls that we have in there. And then we can automate all of these. Yeah, you can automate your different effects. So there's a lot more options in terms of what you can automate here in GarageBand Mac, but the basic principle works exactly the same, and that is that we want to add in points So add in points, just like we did on GarageBand iOS, and then move them around. And then we get the same exact effects. We want to turn down this particular part of the vocal. We'll come down a bit.
Time is behind me.
You can see the volume goes down, and now it's going to be
Don't have
quieter.
To gain.
The automation ramps the volume back up.
At the end.
And we're done. But the difference is if we then want to come in here and also automate our panning, we can do the same sort of thing there. We can automate the pan by tapping here, and we can go between left and right. So if we just show you this real quick, let's just take it from one side all the way to the other and take a listen to this. Over here now first, on your right side, slowly panning across.
Only feeling the pain.
Coming towards the middle here, and then we'll just speed it up a bit. Coming over to the left.
Time is behind me.
So automation is a super handy feature, and whether you are indeed on the Mac or whether you're on iOS, voila, it is a good way to actually get some control over your tracks and to be able to, when you get to that mixing phase, it's actually really important to be able to give yourself a little bit more control, because that can be the difference between a really good song and a really great song. It's just controlling some of those dynamics, and where something is too loud, just bringing it down and sitting it in the mix, or if something's too quiet, you can bring it up. Works great for bass guitars, for vocals, for keys, whatever you're using, you can automate them. Remember too, that there's also compression. So compression's kind of like an automatic automation. So compression, what that does is it actually squashes down the peaks, volumes, and then pulls everything back up. So if you want a quick way and you don't want to go through all that automation, make sure that you learn how to use compression. And there's videos here on the channel all about compression. If you search my name, Pete Johns Compression, you'll find those there. Alrighty, so yeah, automation, a handy dandy feature, yeah? And that was our feature topic of the week. We're going to have a rant in just a moment, but we'll check in with the folks who are here live before we do so. Sion says, I'll just have a drink. There's a few more automation that's possible in GarageBand for iOS. I'll release the video a bit later today. I'm intrigued because I'd love to learn some new automation. It's never too late to learn. Like, it's a lifelong learning experience. As I said before, you do have the ability, like the main way that I use for alternative automation is to like literally duplicate out a track. So if you came into, I've run out of tracks in this one, duplicate out that track, put it onto a second track, then you can do things like panning automation and effects automation. I love that reverb, like that delay on the last word. I did a video recently where I showed that, where you can put just a chunk of the audio on a second track, and then you put that as just the effect. So it plays the original on the first track and then just the effect on the second one. And that way you can use volume automation to automate when the effect comes in and out, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's a few ways around, a few hacks and workarounds for our GarageBand iOS friends, which is always a good thing, always fun to hack around. We've got folks talking about Audacity. So I think, was there a question here about Audacity? I'm not sure. But yeah, Audacity is definitely good. There's already, Ed Z says, already a video on automation. I wonder how this one will be different. As in this demo or this video? Yeah, this is just a feature topic. We recover a lot of stuff here. Problem is, Ed, is there's already a video on everything, everything that you can do in GarageBand iOS at least. I've pretty much covered in a video, or multiple videos more often than not. So yeah, that was more just a review and overview for those that are getting in and newer to the world of automation, and when and why you'd want to use it. Question here from Melissa. Have you used a MIDI keyboard with GarageBand Mac OS? I hope you have a great week and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, Melissa. I haven't yet. I know that I believe Jade has. I think Jade's used a MIDI keyboard and is covering some other apps this week. I meant to have my MIDI keyboard connected here today for this show, because the app that I'm showing, I really needed to have a MIDI keyboard. But I'm actually showing an iOS app. But no, I haven't plugged into a Mac. Apparently, it works just the same. So you've got all the same functionality and all the same controls on the Mac. The only difference is you don't need any adapters. So you just plug USB directly into your Mac. and then you've got your MIDI keyboard ready to use and good to go. So yeah, I haven't done it yet, but it's on the list of things to do. I'm working on this song at the moment, and I'm going to be adding some keys into that. Originally I just used the typing keyboard to add in my keys. I'm going to be plugging in the MIDI keyboard to do a little bit more of that this week. Alrighty, but moving on, Christoph says, is there an automation to get rid of the wrong notes I sung? Yes, it's called zero volume. Automate it down to 0 and you're good to go. Yeah. No, there's like obviously the wrong notes you can use. You can use pitch control, you can use the auto tune functions, you can use other plugins, but yeah, try again. That's my number one tip on that. Go back, try again. Yeah, so as Gary says, automation resists the temptation to add automation points during playback. Crash City. So yeah, do be careful. There was an issue. It's been fixed now, but there was an issue with automation where on some devices, if you came in and you started automating, it would just, at this point, when you started going to add or move points, it would just go crash and you'd lose your whole project. And if you hadn't saved recently, it was gone. So I still recommend before you do any major changes, before you hit the mixing phase, before you start throwing in a whole bunch of automation points, save your project. And again, if you're newer to GarageBand, to save your project, all you need to do is tap out of it. Tap in the top left, it'll save, and then tap and it reopens. Won't take you long, but my goodness, it'll save you some pain and heartache in the future. But yeah, what Gary's saying there is if you're coming into automation and you're playing back, and in fact, I did it before, didn't I, on the Mac. Let's just see if we can make this sucker crash. So what he's saying is don't add the points while it's playing and move things around while it's playing, because that can be a recipe for disaster. Let's try and
Always
break
think
it.
about the next big problem, even when it's someone else that's on the hook me in, line and sinker. Ever wonder what it's like to be an overthinker, tinker with all my little thoughts? Maybe it was just the way that I was taught to just believe that I was right.
No, couldn't get it to crash. Sorry, we tried. Tried my very best to get it to crash. I'm going to come back to this track and go, why was I doing that with the volume? I got no idea. That's bizarre. Let's continue on. What are we talking about? There's an app. Someone's talking about, I don't know. Anyway, the Core Compressor. Yeah, that is a good compressor from Kevinhart, and yeah, Jade is covering it this week. Rob B says, on another show, can you explain how Deesser works in Mixbox? Yeah, I'm playing around with Deesser in Mixbox right now, actually, because there's a Deesser called Espresso from Kevinhart, which is pretty good. But if you're going to get Mixbox anyway, and if you're looking for a Deesser, if the one in Mixbox works well, that will be a good thing. So I have to record some Thuffer and Thuckatash vocals, which won't be hard for me. Then, yeah, I'll try out the Deesser during the week and see how it goes. I agree with you, Tom. So many apps, so little of the green stuff, or the yellow and green stuff in the logo there. Alrighty. Yes, no, good point. And I do want to revisit. Mixbox. If you missed this show on Mixbox, Jay did a couple of them. I did a show on Mixbox. It's a very cool app from IK Multimedia. It's basically like everything. It's guitar plugins, it's reverbs, it's compressors, it's got like an 1176 clone, for goodness sake. It's got a lot of stuff in there. Very, very cool. Yeah, everyone's giving Christoph advice now about auto-tune. Yeah, I think it was a joke, but yeah. But yeah, you can in iOS you can use the pitch correction. It's on things like the lead vocals or the radio ready vocals, and it's just called pitch control or what is it called? Tuning assistant, something like that. Can never remember. Alrighty, let's continue on. We've got, Jade's here. She's setting up her next show. What are you covering today, Jade? Is today Bruce Free? Is it a Bruce Free day? Bruce Free? We're going to reduce some noise. I'll be interested to find out what noises Jade's going to create so that she can then remove them. Because Bruce Free from Kevinhart is a ridiculously good app. Let's go back to my notes. Righty dokey. Tip of the week. So the tip of the week this week is to help us with our keyboard shortcuts. And we did talk about keyboard shortcuts in a previous one, but since I've been playing around with the Mac as well, I've found some keyboard shortcut goodness on the Mac that I thought was pretty cool. So when you're using a keyboard, whether it's a Magic keyboard like this one that I'm using here that costs all money, which is I still feel pain every time I see that in my like transaction. I'm just like, why did I buy it? But I do love it. So your keyboard shortcuts, the best tip you have for keyboard shortcuts is to hold down your command key and you get this. You get a menu here, and this works in any app. So this isn't just a GarageBand tip, this is an iOS tip. So in iOS, so I'm on my iPad here, I've held down the command key, and look at this. It tells me A is for toggling automation. We've got remix, option R. We've got select next track, select previous track. So you can work all these. And down the bottom there, you'll notice that there's actually 2 pages. So you can just flick across, continue holding down the command key, and flick across, and this is actually every single keyboard shortcut. Now you can also go over to studiolivetoday.com/shortcuts because that has all of the shortcuts here as well. In fact, why don't we show you that before we jump over to the Mac, and I'll show you a cool little keyboard shortcut tip I found on that one. If I just go studiolivetoday.com/shortcuts, that will be your shortcut to this website, this one here. And what I've got here is all of the keyboard shortcuts and this handy dandy PDF guide, which is free to download. Don't even ask your email address or anything. But this is just it's printable. It's an A4 page. If you want to just laminate it and have it next to your iPad or wherever you do your recording, or just keep it as a digital reference document. But the cool thing about this is I've also, if you're using a Windows keyboard, which you totally can, you don't need to. I'm using this with my Mac. I'm using a Windows keyboard. You just need to know that your Windows key is your command key. That's kind of the only real hack there. And what's the other one? The command and the option key is the alt key. So option is alt, Windows is command, everything else is the same. So you can go with your bad self. So we've got all the different keyboard shortcuts for both of those. Now when it comes to Mac, I've been trying to work out the Mac keyboard shortcuts over the last couple of weeks. Whoops, I've pressed the wrong button. I've tried to load Reflector. There it is. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I love or hate this business. That business, that like I'm sure I can turn it off, but I don't know if I love it or hate it. What do you reckon? Is it cool or is it super lame? I don't know. But yeah, let's come back into here. So this is my GarageBand track. What I have noticed is that if you need to know the shortcut for most things, if you hover over them, hang on, where? Oh, see. There you go. I'm like, oh, none of those actually have a shortcut key. But you can see there that the click track or the metronome there, if you hover over it and you want to know, oh, how do I actually enable that? Oh, yeah, it's K. So then you can go, yep, my K key is going to turn on and off my metronome. What about this? Yep, look at that. That's Shift K is the count in. So if we do Shift K, there you go. We can change the count in on or off. So there are different ways as you come around. Now let's just see if there's other things. Does Solo have it? If we hover, see, just as I'm about to commend them, we don't have that because Solo and Mute are S and M, right? But they don't actually have that there. What about automation? And we're in automation. Well, there's nothing you can hover over. But anyway, I thought that was useful, and I've been using it a lot. And now that I'm happy about it, it's not showing. Now I haven't even tested this, but if we hold down the command key, no, we don't get the keyboard shortcuts. See, that would be cool. Why don't we have that? I'm sure we can come in here to help and keyboard shortcuts. There you go. Intro to keyboard shortcuts on the Mac. Is that just GarageBand though? Yeah, they're all the global ones. There we go. Editors shortcuts. So yeah, there's a few things in here. So the bottom line is it's actually easier for whatever reason on iOS. But there you go. So there's your shortcuts. So you've got option space to preview selected audio, option up arrow. So yeah, there's a lot more depth and a lot more options that we have in the Mac, which I need to learn. So if any of you have any tips, like this was half tip, half question, because if any of you have any tips of how I can learn how to use keyboard shortcuts in the Mac, so because there's not a version like we have over here where we can just hold down the command key, if I ever forget, see now this one's not working. There you go. There's not that on the Mac if there's an easier way to learn that. And the answer is probably the same answer for every GarageBand Mac problem, and that is to go and ask Patrick at the GarageBand Guide. That's my tip anyway. That's my technique. Oh, good. The Mac has decided that the toolbar should be over here again. I want to love my Mac, but the fact that every time I turn it on, the screens are on the wrong side, the refresh rate's wrong, it randomly decides to shift from the right-hand screen to the left-hand screen with this dock halfway through a stream for no reason. Man, I had it all wrong. I thought the Mac was going to be limiting but the trade-off was user-friendly. I thought everything just works. Isn't that their slogan? It just works. Yeah, my Mac doesn't just work. If you are easily frustrated by IT issues, I wouldn't be lining up to get a Mac and Big Sur and an M1 at the moment because yeah, it's definitely got some teething problems. When it works, fan-bloody-tastic. But when it doesn't work, frustrating, annoying, and no sense, like no rhyme or reason of when it does it or why. And I'm a pretty logical guy. I can work out this stuff most of the time, but so much of it seems super duper random. I'm hoping a Big Sur update comes and is my shining knight, my knight in shining armor, and fixes all my problems. Anyway, I'll stop complaining. Kevinhart says, a moment. Would it be a cool idea to have a show for apps on genres? If you do, here's what you need. If you do, here's what you need. You can't go wrong. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite following that. Show for apps on genres. So different genre apps, as in different music genres, or different types of apps. I'm always down for ideas. And don't forget, Jade does How to App as well. So it could be a suggestion for Jade to change up, because I think she's doing her 4th season of How to App coming up really soon, really soon. Do we have any other questions? We got folks. So Rob says, if you upload an original song to SoundCloud, is it automatically copyrighted, or could someone steal your idea? This is a good question, and actually, is this what I had in my notes here? Yeah, you know what? It's actually the next topic, which is copyright and GarageBand. So yeah, we'll talk about this in right now. I was going to say in a moment, but we'll talk about it right now. So to answer your question directly, once you write a song, it is copywritten. Copyright, you own the copyright to anything you produce or create. So the song that I wrote called Murdering Time that you saw there on the Mac before, that is my song. I own the copyright to it. I don't have to register it with anyone. I don't have to release it. The fact that I wrote it means that I own the copyright. Now, that's the case for most music in most parts of the world. Some parts of the world have some slightly different and wackier copyright rules, but for the most part, once you write it, it's yours. You own it. Now, the question you're asking here is, if you upload an original song to SoundCloud, is it automatically copyrighted, or could someone steal your idea? Are kind of two separate things. Yes, it's automatically copyrighted. Can someone steal it? Yes, they can. Should they? No. And do you have recourse? If they do, yes. But here's the problem. You've then got to prove it. So the onus of proof goes on to the person who is claiming copyright on a piece of work. So let's just say you put something on SoundCloud, and then someone else 2 weeks later puts something on SoundCloud that's exactly your song. Well, then you've kind of got the upper hand, I guess, because you released it 2 weeks earlier. But if they release it, unless you actually go and pursue it, nothing's going to happen, because it's just one of those things that it's too difficult to police. Like, there's no automatic thing where they're going to go, oh, well, this was used by someone before, so it's definitely theirs. So you have to first approach that person and say, hey, this is my work. Can you take it down, or can you give me attribution or pay me or whatever? They say no. You then have to go and actually be the complainant. So you can complain to SoundCloud and say it to them. They'll probably say, meh. Or then you can actually go and pursue it legally. Problem being that pursuing things legally, as you can probably imagine, not cheap, and not easy either, not convenient. So what I do, my recommendation on this is what I call hiding in plain sight. So I think this is why I don't recommend you holding back your music and only sharing it with 1 or 2 people and then just keeping it, because the more people you share with and the more publicly you put your music out there, it kind of creates this community policing of it. Is that, like, I know my songs now, and many people on this channel know my songs. I'm not saying start a YouTube channel and share your songs, but I kind of am, because if you just had a YouTube channel where, say, you uploaded a demo version of your song, then you uploaded the first mix, and then you uploaded the final mix, and you did that progressively over a couple of months, if someone then claimed that they had written that song, well, you've got a lot of evidence to point back to. If you've just copywritten the song, so if you've gone to the copyright office and gone to the effort of applying for a copyright on a song, yeah, you've got a piece of paper now, but you've still got to prove that you actually wrote it. And if someone comes at you and says, well, no, that's fine, you copyrighted it, but I actually wrote it first and you stole it from me, what do you do then? It becomes a he said, she said, they said kind of situation. So I'll jump over to my rant, because what I was going to say about this is that, first of all, copyright is important, and it is a thing, But too many people worry too much about it. Rather than just continuing to produce music and focusing on music, they're paranoid that someone's going to steal their song. If you write a song that's good enough for someone to steal and it becomes successful, it's pretty rare. It does happen. I'm not naive enough to think it doesn't happen, but I just think it's rare enough that you shouldn't spend a heap of your time worrying about it. And again, your view may vary, your experience may vary, but in my experience, if you have everything out there, if you put it all on the table and you hide in plain sight, I haven't had a problem. Like no one's come and tried to steal my music, and if they did, it would be very difficult for them to do so because I put my whole songwriting process. It would be very difficult for me to retroactively make a video about how I wrote a song while trying to plagiarize someone else's song, if that makes sense. So that's why I think it's powerful. The internet's powerful, and having online video is powerful because you can actually show those processes. And even if you record it and have it just for yourself and upload it as a private video on your own YouTube channel, you've got something. It's kind of like the old way of doing it, like the mail yourself a cassette of your song and seal it, and then you've got a time and date stamped thing. Never really worked. I don't think it was ever tested in a court of law, but it's the same sort of thing. The more evidence you have, the more stuff you have with a time and date stamp, the better it is for you if you come across that. So yeah, generally, I'll just take a quick drink, and then generally about copyright. So if you're producing GarageBand content, the first thing you need to know about copyright is that loops and sounds are able to be used. So if you're using GarageBand loops, if you're using drummer sounds, if you're using synth samples, whatever you're using in GarageBand, Apple have said you can use all of those royalty-free in commercial releases. So that's the answer to that question. Now, when you release a song, sometimes distributors will say things like, is this all your own work? Did you use any loops or samples, even from GarageBand or whatever? You need to tell us. That's just because they're really scared, because what a lot of people started doing is releasing just the Apple loops and then copyrighting those or getting content ID on those, which we'll talk about in a sec. So yeah, you do need to be a little bit careful, but if you're just using Apple loops, as long as you're using them with other things, that's the thing. Don't just have one Apple loop playing by itself for a significant part of your song. If you're layering up a bunch of loops and sounds, you can use all of GarageBand. So that's sort of point one. Point two is that YouTube Content ID. So outside of the whole copyright system, probably the biggest, excuse me, the biggest way that you're going to run into copyright problems is on YouTube. And it's something called YouTube Content ID. So when a song is released, you can choose to release it to Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all the places. If you're using someone like DistroKid, if you're releasing to YouTube, you can also add YouTube Content ID. And what that does is it means that if anyone else uses that song on YouTube, it will actually flag it. It'll create a copyright claim, and then it will send any revenue generated by that video back to you via your distributor. So here's how it plays out. Pete Johns releases a new song through DistroKid. I pay, and I think it's about $12, $13. I pay for it to go onto YouTube Content ID, and then when it's there, anytime someone uses my song in their video, and it detects it because it's got automated robots that are super smart. It detects it, then it will actually say, "No, we claim this in the name of Pete Johns and DistroKid," and then it will actually, if they're monetizing that video, any revenue that comes in from advertising, instead of being paid to them, gets paid back to DistroKid, and then they send that back through to me. And I think they take a 20% cut for doing the Content ID management. So that's the Content ID system. If you're super worried that your song's going to get used by other people, then you can use Content ID. In my experience, you will make much less than you pay on a yearly basis back. Because you think about it, someone has to use your song. It has to be on a channel that's already monetized. It has to then make enough money for you to cover the cost of setting up Content ID in the first place. So you need someone to basically get a viral video and happen to use your song in it before it's actually going to be worthwhile doing. However, if you're worried more about the copyright side, then maybe that is a good thing. At least you'll know when other people are potentially using your song. So that's how that all works. Distributing, we've sort of already covered. And then I guess the other thing is you can also register your songs and the songs that you play with a PRO, a performing rights organization. That is something I haven't done yet. It's on my 2021 list of things I have to do. I know Jade Starr's been bugging me, rightly so, that I need to join APRA AMCOS here in Australia. Who've got BMI in the US? I always forget the UK one. Someone will tell me in the chat. But yeah, so there's other ways that you can actually register your music through a performing rights organization. So that's like the 5-minute version around copyright, but yeah, there's a whole lot more that you can dive into. If you search my name, Pete Johns Copyright, there's a heap of other videos. a heap of other videos. Yeah, very PowerPointish. I know that the swoosh, the swoosh here in Mac is a little bit PowerPoint, isn't it? All right. And yeah, I'm sure it can be turned off someplace, and it probably will be because my Mac needs every bit of help it can get to stay stable. Who else have we got here? Maury P. Talking about Bluetooth keyboards. Yeah, the K400 with trackpad by Logitech is not expensive. Yeah, so there's a bunch of keyboard options. I use the K480, just the keyboard version, but yeah, the K400. I love my Logitech stuff. Logitech is the bomb when it comes to mices and keyboards. I thought I saw another question down here. We'll scroll on down. Oh no, it's done the thing where it jumps away. So I've got folks talking about this that we were just talking about. So Ed says, I had an instance where a track was blocked from upload because the AI detected another track with the same Apple loops. Fortunately, they corrected it right away. Yeah, so this is what can happen is that people have uploaded songs where, let's just say it's got a 20-second intro that is just one Apple loop. Well, but then they copyright that song. They put Content ID on that song. What it's copywriting is not the Apple loop, but it's saying that that person said that was an original song that they own, and that part of it is just the Apple loop. So that's why places like DistroKid say, are you using these? Because you need to stop it. Because what's happened is there's been all these false positives on just Apple loops. The workaround for that is to change it up. Change the key, change the tempo, make sure you're using at least 2 or 3 loops at one time. Never have a break in your song where it's using just one loop. Otherwise, the detection robots will come in and definitely find out what's going on. I think we had some other comments about this. So Russ says, I had a song remixed to put on SoundCloud, and I wouldn't have minded if they at least asked me first. Yeah, and that's the key. Like on the flip side of this, if you want to use like Sion asked me on a show, he said, can I remix one of your songs? I'm like, yeah, of course. So the nice thing to do is to ask people before you actually use them for remixing. But remixing and sampling is a whole different story, and that's a slippery slope. So if you're going to get down that path, do your research first. Don't release a song using samples from someone else's song before you know the implications of that. You could end up either in trouble or at very best, not getting any revenue from the song. So Bubba brings up a good question. How do I know who's downloading tunes off my SoundCloud? Not worried, but curious. You don't. So that's the thing. There's so many tools and apps and ways out there to download people's music, even if you don't set because in SoundCloud, I think you can set it to you can download or you can't download, but people still can. Like once audio and video is playing back on a platform, it is open slather. There are ways for people to download and to capture high quality versions of anything. People have taken my entire videos. There's a tool in YouTube. Actually, it'd be a fun one. We should do that. Maybe I'll do that with patrons this week. We'll go in and we'll check. I haven't checked it in about a year. We'll check the copyright tool. There's a YouTube copyright tool that does the same thing for videos as it does for music. So it goes through and it scans, and if it detects duplicates of my videos, it'll actually pop them up. And there's some like weird Russian YouTube channels that have just complete lift and shifts of my entire videos. I don't really care about it because they're getting like 10 views on them. Like it's not a problem, but it is very weird that people have gone through that. It's bizarre. Just coming down here and seeing if we've got any other comments. Yeah, exactly, Russ. They're not going to make money out of it anyway. We'll just see if we've got any other questions or comments before we move into our next section. Because we got about 15 minutes to go. Yes, there you go. Carrots. I'll give you a carrot to hide, Gary. We had some weird carrot themes going on yesterday on the show. Can't even remember the context, but that's right. I changed a derogatory term word in the Pogues song, Fairy Tale of New York, to carrot. And so now that's going to be my new insult. Whenever someone's annoying me, I'm like, yeah, flame and carrot, because it's just weird and it sounds fun. A question from SM Borthwick. Have you or anyone else noticed that YouTube comments seem to have been disabled on tracks provided to them by DistroKid? I haven't, but let's have a live look, shall we? I haven't noticed this. So, and that's a good point. If you're not sure what SM's talking about here, when you release through DistroKid, it releases it as a YouTube video, but it releases it to your topic channel. So instead of it going to your own owned YouTube channel, there's a YouTube topic channel that's created. So if we jump over here, let's do this live. This is my topic channel. So it'll usually have your channel art of your most recent release. So there it is. There's my song New Beginning and the topic channel. So let's jump into this and see if what SM's saying. Have my volume up. Let's see. That's all right. I don't have content ID, so I won't get a strike from myself, which you can do, by the way. If you have content ID, even though I own this song and I'm using it on my other YouTube channel, or this one on Pete Johns, it will get claimed. And then the revenue from this video would be sent back. So things like Your Music Live, when I play other people's songs, that does that. It copyright claims and then it gets paid back through DistroKids, CD Baby, whoever they've released it through. The same would happen for me. In fact, I should really play at least one of my songs every time I do a show. So I at least get one of the claims. No, I don't care. That's why the wonderful DistroKids sponsor the show. So let's see. Comments are turned off. You're right. Oh, you can't see that because I'm covering it. Comments are turned off. Learn more. Let's learn more about why comments are turned off, shall we, folks? Learn why comments are disabled. The comments may be turned off on a video because the video owner has disabled them. Content has been disabled. The channel of the video is made for kids. You're the administrator. Comments on auto-generated art tracks are turned off. So is that what these are? Are these auto-generated art tracks? We're going down the rabbit hole here, but we might as well find out. Hey, what is an art track? An art track is an automatically generated YouTube version of a track or music album. An art track consists of the sound recording and the album art. The purpose of the art track is to provide a YouTube version of every track of every album. Currently, official music videos are available for recordings only when the label or artist invests non-trivial time and resources into producing one. The art tracks automate the creation of versions of the recording, even if they don't have a produced music video. YouTube creates an art track for each track you upload. Yeah, okay. So there's your answer. But this has got to be new, right? Because I've never come across this before. I'm positive that some of my older tracks actually have the comments on it. Let's go back now. Let's go back and find out. I'm intrigued now because I'm sure I've commented on. Stop it. I'm sure I've commented on other people's tracks as well. I'm sure it's not been the case. Yeah, comments are turned off. It must be a new thing. Let me know if anyone else has had experience with this. But yeah, I've definitely produced songs, released them using DistroKid, and had people leaving comments on them. And I've definitely left comments on other people's auto-generated tracks. Maybe it was to do with the move to YouTube Music, because YouTube are now using all these as their YouTube Music auto generation. So maybe because they're playing them now on devices like their Google Homes and the like, they don't want them to be YouTube videos with comments and things because maybe it's going to display outside of the platform, and because kids channels can't have comments. So maybe they're saying, well, because this is classified as for everyone, we can't have comments on them because they can be viewed in other locations. Totally guessing there, but yeah, you're right, SM. It's exactly right. There you go. Jade will walk me through it. That'd be a good show, actually. We should do a live show, Jade, where Jade educates Pete on PROs and gets me registered. Very selfish one for me. There you go. It's GEMA in Germany, and Ed's saying it's Suiza for Europe, and PRS. So PRS in the UK. There you go. So yeah, different PROs, just to make it super difficult. Different names for different ones in every part of the world. Hooray, right? A question here from Jake said, can I use guitar amps in GB on a ukulele? Yeah, you can. You can use guitar amps on anything. Folks use guitar amps on vocals, on guitars, on ukulele, on French horn. You can use whatever you want. Guitar amps are just a track type. They're just an effect that you add to a track. So whatever audio you're sending in, you can use on your guitar amp. No problem. Question, how do you sell songs for TV or film themes? So good question again, Rob. I'm not an expert in this, but it's called syncing. You want to get the audio sync licenses. So Google the YouTubes. That doesn't make sense. YouTube sync licensing. And there's folks like, who's the dude? Bobby Osinski. He's got courses on this and a bunch of videos on syncing. And yeah, there's a bunch of other folks that are experts in this stuff. So it's basically a couple of ways. You can be 100% independent and you can just try and go out to different producers and production companies. You're not going to have much success there because what they usually do is they deal with sync license libraries and sync companies. So the easiest way and the most common way is that you register with a sync company, you upload a bunch of your music, it goes on their site, they then sell it if someone wants to use it in a video, in a presentation, for corporate, for TV, for film, then they actually pay the sync license to that company, and then they take a cut and you get the rest. So that it's similar ways to most how most other things work. You kind of need a middleman. So you can go out and do it yourself, but you need a middleman. Now, I've never used one. I've never done music for sync, so I don't actually know of any of them. But if anyone, again, here has any recommendations or suggestions, if you're already selling your music or getting sync licenses for your music, then let us know. Now, and obviously, if you are selling your music and getting it synced in things, don't put Content ID on it. I've seen some folks do that before. They've sold beats, had Content ID on it. The person releases their song using the beat that they've legitimately bought, and they get a copyright claim. It's like, nah, you can't double dip. Yeah, we were a few carrots short of a bag last night, for sure. Yeah, Maury P. Now, I was thinking about green screens just this week, because obviously my background, I mean, I've tried to Christmas it up a little bit, but obviously my background's a wee bit dull. So I did actually think that maybe my next purchase should be a green screen. I think if they're done well, they can be really cool, but I think they get done so poorly so often that I've been put off by that. But I think, and I don't know what I'd put behind me. So maybe we need to do that as a tweet. Let me know. What would be behind Pete? If I used a green screen, what would I put behind me? I don't know. Let me know. Oh, let's continue on. Yeah, the topic account. Sorry, I'm behind on the chat here. Hey, Mark Clift, I hope you are doing well. My friend. No, green screens are good. And what I was hoping is that before I bought a green screen, I was hoping that, because obviously you can tell here that the webcam does a decent job with like field of view. So I can use software to actually remove the background, even though it's not all one color. So I was hoping that Streamyard would actually catch up with that. And there is talk that they might add that feature where you can do green screening, even though you don't have a green screen. You can just do background removal, similar to what Zoom and other things does. Tom Richel says, do your distro kids have access to your topic channels, or does only DistroKid have that? Yeah, only DistroKid has access. So you can't change anything. You can't change tags. You can't change titles. You can't change descriptions. It's all just auto-generated and sent by DistroKid to YouTube, and then YouTube upload whatever metadata you put in is what gets uploaded. So the record label will be either your name or just DK blah blah blah, and then yeah, everything else is default. So you've never had control over that. But you have had control over comments, because I've definitely gone in and responded to comments on my songs on my topic channel before. What you can do, and I've not done this, you can actually apply to have your topic channel changed to an artist channel, and then I believe you do get more control over those. Or you can at least do what YouTube was saying there and replace them with music videos, and then the official video becomes a music video. And you get that little note symbol next to your channel name. So if we give you an example, let's just go to my buddy Ben Folds. Me and Ben, we hang out all the time, right? So you can see that Ben Folds has his channel here, Ben Folds TV. It's got a little music note next to it. And you can see how it's got all of his music over here on the side. So this is like a combined topic and artist channel. So you get control over it. But if, yeah, I've never done it. But if you search artist channel on YouTube, I'm sure someone's got a video showing you how to convert to an artist channel. The reason I don't have it is that once your channel is an artist channel, it prioritizes it for music. So that's fine if all you're doing is music. But if, like me, you're doing, so 80 to 90% of what I do is actually tutorials and educational content, I don't want, for the fact that the 10% of music, I don't want that to suddenly pigeonhole all my stuff into music, because it can impact things like your search ranking and how easily people can find your content. So be careful before you change that. Scott says, interesting, they changed it recently. I just checked and comments are off on mine now. Yeah, I'm almost positive that they were still on. Almost positive, because I've definitely been in there. All right, let's see if we've got any other questions or comments. I think we're pretty good. We've been a little bit around the place today, but that's okay. Let's see, we do have one more question. Pete Johns, I have done some Western covers on my channel, but couldn't find a human whistle sound. Any help? Human whistle. Yeah. So, I mean, you could get someone to whistle for you. There's a few free sound. I use freesound.org. I can imagine that there have to be a whistling sound on freesound.org. Freesound.org is good because it can categorize your sounds by their licensing. So if you look for a sound, I'll just come over to here. Oh, I wouldn't have logged in, would I? Yeah, no, I haven't logged in on this, but this is what it looks like. We won't go into detail, but freesound.org, there's a bunch of other similar sort of websites. You can come in here and, I'm hitting the wrong button. Don't worry. You can come in here and you can search through the sounds and download various different sounds. And yeah, there's quite a few good options over there. Or just search, free sounds. But you want to make sure that if you're using it for commercial releases or if you're releasing on YouTube, make sure that they are not public domain. What am I trying to think of? Creative Commons, or they're available for commercial use, either with or without attribution. So just check the licensing before you use it. But I do like freesound.org. It's very cool. And yeah, I think there's a whistle sound font, says Bubba. So there you go. And Human Whistle would be a good band name, Gary. I agree. Human Whistle. I like it. All right, let's continue and see. Have I talked about everything? I think I must have, because we're nearly at the end here. So we've had the tip of the week. Oh, you know, I've been so busy in the Q&A. We haven't done the plugin of the week. Oh man, am I going to do it? I can't do it. I'll do a separate video about the plugin of the week, because I was going to do Clevgrand's new Pipa, which is a voice synthesizer, which is a very, very cool one, but I'm just not going to be able to do it justice in the time that we have here. So we might have to do a holdover on the plugin of the week. Otherwise, yeah, I can't do it in 3 minutes, but it's very cool. And I did want to actually use my MIDI keyboard with it. So maybe we'll do that as a separate video through the week. The Pipa, P-I-P-A from Clevgrand. Very cool little synth that I've been playing around with today. Project Quarantine says how to recover the last saved files on GarageBand. Mac or iOS, I'm not sure. So there's no real file recovery as such. You just need to basically go in and have a look. And if we come in here to my iPad, so what I do is I use version control. So I have different versions of songs when I'm working on them. So there'll be like version 1, version 2, etc. So you can see here with Never to Blame, we've got version 5, version 6. So the way I manage things is make sure that every time I update, I just create the next version number, and then I've always got those backup copies. I'm not sure about recovering last saved files. It's not managed well, at least on iOS, and I don't think it's much better on the Mac, that if you lose something, it's kind of gone. I recommend iCloud. Save everything you can to your iCloud drive. That way you're always going to have things backed up if something goes astray. But yeah, I would jump over to the GarageBand users Facebook group if you have more detailed questions that you need answers to. Alrighty. Excuse me. I'm going to finish up here now. What's the best way to get my channel out there? Engage. Two-way engagement with your community. Get involved in as many places as possible. Engage with as many people as possible, and keep in mind that all promotion is two-way now. So gone are the days that you're just pushing out content. It's two-way communication, two-way engagement for the win. That's always my go-to advice, and I know many of you have heard me say that many, many times, but it's reality. It's what I've found. It's my best tip. Speaking of best tips, the resource of the week I wanted to give you, since we missed out on the plugin of the week, if you go to studiolivetoday.com/freeau, that's FREEAU, you're going to get to, not my song imagination, you are going to get to this, which is my free plugins list. Now, I'm updating this week, so if you have any free plugins that aren't on this list, you can see it's been a while. May 2020, we need to update this. But on this page, and I'll put a link down in the description to it, it's got every free audio unit version 3 plugin that's available for iOS. So if you are into free, and who doesn't like free, especially this time of the year, not many people are rolling around in big wads of cash, then come over here, because you can play around with all of these different apps. They're all free, and they're all audio unit AUV3, and some of my favorites are in there. And I mentioned that because I'm going to do a video around about Christmas time, which is going to be the top 10 free AUV3 apps. So if you have ideas for that, we want to make sure we get this list up to date and complete, so that all of the potential winners can be in here, and we'll play around with those in a future video. So look out for that one. coming soon. Alrighty, thank you everyone for being here. If you got some value out of this one today, it helps out if you hit the like button. We do appreciate that. If you want to get in touch or you want to find out all the ways that you can contribute to the channel, all the different places for videos, all the ways that you can interact, head over to studiolivetoday.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things Studio Live Today. Stay tuned now. Head over to Jade Star's channel. She's got her How to App series kicking off right now. So there's no gap, no rest today. Get your carrots over. Wait. Get over to Jade Star. Put some carrot emojis. Just freak her out. Just everyone that goes there and watches Jade's show right now, go there right now and put a bunch of carrot emojis in her chat with no other reference and just see what happens. Could be a lot of fun. Alrighty, folks. Thanks everyone for being here. Have a great week. And as I say on every show, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and keep creating. Rock on!